You've come to the right place. If you're looking to create, launch, and scale a high value online training program, I'm your guide, Chris Badgett. I'm the co founder of LifterLMS, the most powerful learning management system for WordPress. Stay to the end. I've got something special for you. Enjoy the show. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of LMS Cast. I'm joined by a special guest. His name is Jim Hankins. He's from cribops.com. Jim is a shining example of what I call an education entrepreneur who has found a niche, successfully deployed e-learning in repeated ways in the firearm safety niche. And he's done this business with his wife, and there's so much to unpack here. But first, welcome to the show, Jim.
Thanks, Chris. It's great to be here.
So tell us about when I saw you, when you reached out or we connected, and I saw you had so many sites. I was like, this is awesome. It's hard enough for some people to get one site off the ground. Tell us about the genesis of firearm safety training and how you were able to go into this niche, but also do it in a repeated manner in different contexts.
Sure. So my wife and I started this business, a firearms training business, actually starting as a gun store, as a retail outlet, with training as a big part of the business. But so it's 17 years ago. And then we just over time decided that we actually really liked the training aspect of it and gave up the retail side of it and just went 100% for training. And Doreen is a marketing genius when it comes to just relationship building and local marketing, because it's a very local business. And so she just became pretty successful over time. And in the firearms training business, there's certifying bodies that create the content that the states will say, yes, this meets our criteria. And they oftentimes have other services that they provide that they sell to customers. And Doreen became one of the top instructors in that space. So long story short, she then wrote a book. There's a book in Amazon called The Firearms Marketing Toolkit, if I remember correctly, that's focused on helping firearms instructors. Really, it applies to any local business on how to be found on the internet. And we started providing services, coaching services and hosting services for CRM, marketing automation, those kind of things. Anything to help them make the most of their time, because they're usually solopreneurs, right? Or they might maybe a husband and wife team. They oftentimes have a main job, and this is a side hustle they do on the weekends, right? So anything they can do to help automate that process of user sign up and those kind of things. We started recording content for them that they could in turn sell or give away to their customers to get them moving in the direction of using e-learning as another aspect of their business. Doreen was getting pretty successful with that concept in the state of Michigan. She created a renewal class that could be taken online. So now that could be purchased anywhere in the state. She created a real estate agent safety class that actually she went through the process of getting it approved for continuing education. And so now you get the CE credits for that. And so she just started pushing that type of content out to other instructors. And then that became a whole nother business of hosting, web hosting and CRM hosting for the instructors. Yeah, that's how we got into the learning management as a service and providing it to other customers. Yeah.
You guys create the content, or you're using licensed content, or a little bit of both?
We're creating all of our own content and then, just literally providing that over to them as a white label, then they can sell or give away as a lead magnet. In some cases, it's really short just for the purpose of lead magnets. It could be content that helps the students become acclimated to the vernacular before the class. So they have a little 30-minute class that they can take at their option before they join if they're new to that world. And so that's what we do.
What, like I see a lot of people who are in the mandatory education space. It could be for a job, like to keep a license or get credits, or it could be like I've seen stuff in the court systems. But I think one of the biggest things you have to figure out in one of those is if there is a governing body, how to work with them or find them or help get them to promote you once you're approved and just build that relationship. What kind of general advice do you have about being seen and working with a governing regulatory body?
Yeah, so it's all about income producing activity. That's what I've heard others say. You have to look at what can you do on a daily basis to reach out and expand your business to be found? It's hard to for people to find you if you're not doing anything to make that happen. I'll give you a simple example. As you mentioned, the court systems. There are people that do things they shouldn't have and get in trouble with the law. And as it relates to firearms training, one of the simple things that Doreen did was in fact, she just did this last night, dropping off a bunch of mailers to the bail bondsmen and the various court related folks to tell them about our court ordered firearms safety training as an option. And and then she does that, right? Those are typically live, but that's an example of just reaching out into your community and figuring out what can you offer at one to many that enables you to satisfy a need and create a niche all by yourself. I'm pretty confident there's probably nobody else doing that because they just haven't thought of it. And she's able to, do those classes all throughout the week. And it makes it easy for the court system, right? Because they've already had these court-ordered firearm safety training, but then the people go to the trainers looking for the offering, and they'll say, "Yeah, we don't have that."
Yeah.
So she does it remote. There's obviously no firearms involved because these people have been now precluded from having a firearm, but they still need to understand what they did wrong as it relates to the law. Yeah.
It sounds so simple, but find a need and fill it. Do outbound sales and find the people that are talking to the people that need what you have and just develop that relationship and scale that. It sounds so simple, but it's not.
Yeah. Like local people, all the things that used to work still work in local, like the tear offs printed on cork boards and outside of grocery stores and things like that, business cards at the local diner. She still does all those things. And when we go and frequent those diners, as we do, we look and there's one tag left on the tear off. Oh, time to put the new one out there. So it's just basic blocking and tackling on the local side. Yeah.
Tell us about, you have a lot of websites in the firearm safety. Like, why are there so many sites? I know you have ranges, you have trainers, individual trainers. Like, how did you scale this thing and why are there different sites and all that?
Yeah, like I said, there's two kind of large training organizations that create the content that instructors then use, and they're certified to be an instructor by those organizations. And then they just put the "we're open" sign out front of their business and off they go. There's about it's hard to say that how many are active. There's probably about 145,000 instructors in the US that do this, and maybe half of that number are active. I don't know. And so there's no regional requirements. In fact, we had in our brick and mortar classroom, we had another instructor open up 3 doors down in a strip mall area. So it's a very competitive market, but it's predominantly the states where there's a requirement for training to get a license. And that's the bread and butter. And then there are organizations that just do training, just safety training in general. And families will bring their kids in and those kinds of things. Businesses will bring their employees in, depending on the type of business, like if it's a security business or really anything. And the instructors are there to fill that need. And we're essentially helping them with the marketing tool set, the learning content, and even the concept that they could make their own content or use something other than what they've been teaching. That's for whatever. It's funny. The light bulb goes off in their mind. They're like, "Oh, you mean I could create my own content?" It's like, yes, you can. But you don't just have to focus on the state license based content. You can do all these other things. Like as the example, one of the courses we provide is that real estate agent safety class that they can use. They don't have to go off and get it certified in their state for CE credits, but they could if they wanted to. But anything like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how I got started in all this actually in a niche, gardening niche.
Right.
And it made me realize, and this was like almost 15 years ago, I think, how we may be super technical people here on this call, but there's a lot of industries that are still digitizing, still figuring out scaling systems and automation and things like this. Can you give us a sense, maybe some figures of how big the niche is? Because when I think of safety niche, I've seen a lot of like martial arts, personal safety training on LifterLMS and stuff like that, self-defense. Like safety is a huge niche, and firearm safety is like a sub niche within that. but like, how big is this thing? Because the human mind just can't comprehend the scale of certain niches.
Yeah, I don't have those figures off the top of my head, but it is quite large. And then you can extend out to facilities, security, and all those kinds of things. It just balloons. There's so many different, sub niches of safety in general. So I came from a fair amount of focus. I mentioned that I left my wife to run the firearms training business while I had one of my apps acquired, and it was safety based. So in fact, it was called Safety Rid. So it was a panic button. I joined a company that did satellite emergency notification coordination. You pressed a button, a panic button on a satellite device, and they'd coordinate the response, right? Pull you off the side of the mountain, out of the middle of the ocean, wherever you happen to be, right? And so they took the kind of intellectual property that I had for a group-based alerting system that I called group safety. The reason why they brought me in this was post Sandy Hook. And so I was listening to the 911 recordings and trying to figure out what kind of technical solutions could have been brought to bear to increase the response time and to better coordinate the information, because there was a lot of confusion, as you might imagine, in that event. And so the company that I joined at the time was my service provider to do the monitored alert. I would send the alert to them. They would do the event coordination. And I called them and I said, hey, I'd really like it if you'd be able to facilitate me sending you a group-based alerting so that I could tell which building somebody was in and coordinate that. And then I had communication between all the parties that they could communicate themselves, silent observation of what was happening, those kinds of things. And they're like, yeah, this is really interesting. Can you join us? We're going to have a meeting here and we'd like to get more information. I was like, oh, I guess I could. And it ended up being in Morocco where they had the meeting. One of the gentlemen lived there. And then, the rest was history. They asked me to join and I built a product in that space. So I've been in the safety space on the technical side, building life and limb services. So I built their cloud infrastructure for that. And then Garmin bought the assets of that business back about 3 years ago. I had my exit. Now here I am, one trick pony again, building other messaging services.
Nice. And am I correct that most of all these businesses and projects have been just you and your wife?
That's right. Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed in some successful e-learning businesses are that there's often like a technical person and then like the marketing, sales, and expertise and stuff. It's just interesting. Tell us about the dynamic in that partnership on the business side, like how you guys complement each other.
Right. Yeah. And you're right. So there's that whole creative and marketing brain side, which is not me. I'm more the technical guy. And we leverage each other's strengths. And it's tough as a husband and wife to kind of balance that. Okay, now work's off. Sometimes that's really hard to turn the work off. It never really is totally off, but we just wake up and what are we going to do today? And you're going to do this and I'm going to do this. And occasionally we meet in the middle and then get things done. Yeah.
As a technical person, I'm super curious, like, how did you get into WordPress? For example, you could have built like a custom LMS solution or whatever.
Totally.
But
yeah.
How did you get to WordPress?
Yeah. So I did have a period in my life where I worked at an ISP and then I owned my own ISP. So I did have some on the hosting side. I had hosting WordPress, as they say. I think you could say that. So I was providing services that included hosting WordPress. So I had some kind of familiarity with it. As a kind of back-end Java or C++ developer, WordPress wouldn't normally be my first thing I would reach for a solution. But in the context of the firearms trainers, they already have a WordPress site many times, or they're on Wix or something else, and I'll usually pull them into WordPress from that. So it's sometimes better to just, accept the world that you live in and figure out ways that you can optimize it. And with a very small amount of coding on my side, I can drop in something that connects their WordPress site to something else and make it happen. It's great that Lifter, because its existence, it makes it super easy for us to incorporate that e-learning content, which is part of our offer, with super easy stamping those solutions out and hosting them and centrally managing that stuff. So you have a great product as it relates to all the features and the API, which we leverage to to make it easier as we start to stamp more and more of these sites out there, and each of them have their own little niches in and of themselves. If it's a range, then they're going to have completely different requirements than just a regular instructor. Yeah.
Do you know, can you think back to how you chose Lifter LMS and decided, I think this is the option for us?
Yeah. So very specifically, one of the requirements we had was we got approached by one of the national training organizations that had an underwritten product that they wanted to start enabling ranges and some instructors to resell. And they asked us if we could do that the integration with them and be an enablement partner for them in that space. And so the product needed to be at that point WordPress based because we'd already crossed that line, but it also needed to have a concept of membership. And I preferred not to have to play with multiple products if I didn't have to. It's from my enterprise days of knowing that, having one source as close as possible to have the solution is the cost of delivery is going to be less. And so, yeah, you have that membership feature, the group feature, which is super interesting. And we just integrated with the events that come from enrollment to build a custom offer that did the integration to allow them to resell the membership. So WordPress becomes a single point of truth for this national organization with hundreds of thousands of members today to enable their many thousands of instructors to resell their product offer. So
Tell us more about the unique way you're using memberships.
yeah. So in the case of the ranges, many of them already have a concept of a membership, and the national to use the range, get a discount, guarantee they're going to have a slot or what have you. So the national training organization obviously is looking for helping them have more door swings, increasing their membership. And in most cases, the ranges didn't have an automated way of selling this membership. You came in, you had to go into the store, and they'd probably write you down on a 3-ring piece of paper, a sticky note at the side of the cash register. Who knows? They're usually 1 or 2 person shops, so they're not huge conglomerates. So we come in and provide an ability for them to sell those memberships online, which they haven't done yet, but then also have those memberships have more stickiness because of that membership offer. It's like an underwritten product, the members would like, right? And then their website becomes the single point of truth to come in and update their payment information, add more members to their memberships, et cetera. So we had that piece. And then the next thing that, of course, that came, which we surprisingly didn't think of right out of the gate because this moved so fast, was you have the people at the point of sale that need to be able to look up those memberships. And so, yeah, so we're working on making that a little more, less of a need to log in directly into the WordPress backend to just have that checkout experience. So yeah, so it's essential to the part of them being able to sell memberships both on premise at the cash register, point of sale. One of the ways we did that was with Foo point of sale and using the WooCommerce integration and Lifter LMS, right?
Wow.
So that kind of another example of trying to find something off the shelf that we could quickly get together and connect the dots, and so that it would check the box of point of sale / selling the service online. So yeah, that's another.
It's a small world. I literally had a meal both in Taiwan and in Portland, Oregon at a WordPress event with the founder of Foo.
Okay,
So
great.
it's neat to see people using the tools together. You mentioned memberships, groups. I know you're using courses. Are there any other key features of Lifter? For example, are you using the certification, like certificates or anything? Or
Some instructors ask for those things. Usually these certificates in their case are like really state governed. So they're paper, ink signed.
this episode of LMS Cast is brought to you by Pop-Up Maker, the most powerful, trusted pop-up solution for WordPress. Whether you're selling online courses or memberships, Pop-Up Maker helps you grow your email list, boost sales conversions, and engage your visitors with highly customizable pop-ups. Imagine creating custom opt-ins, announcements, and promotions that actually convert. I personally use Pop-Up Maker on my Lifter LMS websites for lead magnet opt-ins, cart abandonment, upsells, downsells, and guiding users to helpful content. Pop-up Maker is an essential tool for growing my email list and making more money online through my website. Ready to take your website to the next level? Head on over to wppopupmaker.com/LMScast and save 15% on your order. The discount automatically applies when you visit through that link. Pop-up Maker also has an awesome free version, so you can just use that as well. Go to wppopupmaker.com/LMScast and save 15% off your order, or get started with the free version now. Get more leads and sales on your website with Pop-up Maker today. Now back to the episode.
And they haven't started asking for that too much. We're not using those features. It's mostly around the ability to event on when they've signed up, so that, like, for example, if they sign up for an in-person class, we might use foo events for listing that event, and then use that to trigger the pre-training that they'll get. So we'll auto enroll them based upon that to give them access to training. And then we'll link those events to the CRM to do the suggestive sale after the fact for nurturing, to suggest either other in-person training or e-learning training. Yeah. So
as a prolific LMS website creator, what are some, besides LifterLMS, what are some essential like plugins, theme, what hosting do you like to use? What are like the key tool sets that you really love working with?
So we do our own hosting, and we host on Amazon. I've spent many years working on Amazon. That's what I built that emergency response system on. But yeah, so we're huge fans of that, mostly so that we have more control. And if a customer raises a problem, we're able to get right to the root of the problem because we own the infrastructure in that case, or the infrastructure is code, I think. We're huge fans of Jack's WP Fusion. So we use that quite a bit to integrate with CRM. And
what do you like for CRM?
So we resell GHL currently, but we are also we have the Fluent CRM offer, and we're looking to try to pull that in to make it a little simpler so people aren't bouncing back and forth between the user interfaces. The Fluent community is super interesting as well. So we're taking a look at that. And then the kind of impetus of launching the new offering for CribOps for webhook processing, we use that as part of our tool set as well. We used it ourselves internally, and now we've brought that out to the public for sale as a software as a service. To so many WordPress sites use webhooks inbound and outbound for various things, and CribOps basically gives you the ability to have kind of a production ready place to send a webhook, so that you don't lose messages that are important to your business or to your customer, order fulfillment, et cetera, right? So we give the ability for the message to be in-queued when it's sent. So in the event that the actual service that's supposed to be receiving the webhook is down or is overwhelmed because you got lucky and you've got this viral sale going on, right? We're production ready buffer in between where you're sending the webhook and where you're processing it. And that also, we call it CribOps tongue in cheek because it also enables you to run those webhook processing things, automations, AI enrichment, whatever it is you're doing on premise. You don't need to open up your firewall and expose your network to the world. It's our software talks to that place where the messages are queued, and it pulls it in, and then you send it wherever you need to send it. It could be N8N or things like that allow you to not only process zillions of messages, but do so at near zero cost, because you're just paying for whatever the wattage is of the compute stuff that you have, which could be old servers or PCs, et cetera, that are laying around gathering dust. Wake them up, blow them off, put a fresh operating system on them, put them to work, saving you money and providing value to the customer. So
for the non-technical listener, could you just describe like a webhook in a simple example of how an LMS site might use one?
Yeah, so Lifter has actually inbuilt the ability to send webhooks, which are nothing more than, you could think of them as notifications that's of interest. And you go right into Lifter and tell it, hey, at the point of enrollment, I would like you to send me that notification because I'm going to go off and do other things in advance of them attending or because of them attending an enrollment, right? And that could be like in the firearms training world, that could be they need to sign waivers or those kinds of things in advance of attending a course. And it's important uh, that the message be delivered at the right time, right? So right within LifterLMS in the settings there, you can set that up, and then in there it asks for a URL, and that URL is the webhook endpoint. What we provide is a way where we give you the option to generate your own webhook endpoint, and then you'll then be responsible for taking the message in and doing whatever it is. Lots of people use services like Zapier, that's or Make, Linode, those kinds of services that are public automation tool sets, but you're going to pay for the number of tasks that you run through. And they generally start with about like 10,000 or so workflows a month. But if you're using the service for things like maybe a reactivation campaign, so you have many tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands or a million customer contacts that you're reaching out to on a regular basis, that becomes cost prohibitive to run it through a service like that. Whereas you could run a service on premise, doing all the same things, enriching it with AI or whatever it is you'd like to do using local GPU resources versus paying for it in the cloud to process millions of messages. And yeah, we just sit in front of that to allow you to do that at scale and without losing messages due to like momentary outages of your internet connection or your computer tipping over, cat takes out the network cable or whatever it is you have going on. Yeah. So we'll hold on to that message long enough for you to recover from that, let you know if there is a problem. And then once you get started back up, the message is there to process and do whatever it is it needs to do.
That's awesome. Yeah, go check out cribops.com. A few more just final questions for you, Jim. Can you help describe like the kind of impact you've been able to have with your LMS projects? Like something like number of students, number of courses, like lives touched, anything like that? I just want to inspire people from somebody who's done Lifter at scale, what they're doing.
Yeah. So like in the space with the instructor field, that is a passion project for many. And it's the difference between them still being able to do it and not, by giving them the opportunity to make additional income, additional revenue sources they hadn't even dreamed of, by taking what's in their mind and putting it into Lifter LMS and providing to the world. And if you are out there listening and you're familiar with Lifter LMS and maybe you're only doing your site, maybe step back for a minute and consider, could you help others do what you're doing in your niche and provide that as a coaching or hosting services to others to make a difference in whatever niche you're in.
How has this impacted, like this e-learning at scale impacted just your quality of life? I'm assuming you have some like location freedom, like you just tell us about the impact of figuring this whole thing out with your wife.
Yeah. So obviously the one-to-many is amazing with e-learning, and the return on the investment of time is just silly, because you spend more time avoiding creating the content than actually creating the content. Vacillate over, does this make my hair look okay, or my lack of hair? Is my audio okay? Should I put RGB lighting in the background? All these things that people vacillate over. I would suggest just create the content, right? In fact, most of the content she creates there, she isn't even on camera. She's just doing a presentation, recording, and audio. So good audio, get the content out there and get going, right? I see that a lot on the Lifter calls as well, where people are really struggling with kind of analysis paralysis of getting the content out. And I would just suggest you just get the content out there. Fail fast, right? If somebody doesn't like your content, you'll know, because they won't watch it. After sign up, you'll see how much they watch. You'll figure out where they've stopped, and you can analyze it and iterate and improve. And the knowledge you have in your head is worth something to someone who hasn't walked in the same exact path as you have, and you can help them in whatever it is you're out there.
And last question for you, Jim, like what motivates you? Seems like you're having fun and you've been doing this a while. Like there's lots of different kinds of motivation, but what keeps you going and excited about the future?
I think it's just one, I'm blessed to have my family to work with me. So it's super amazing to be able to get up every day and what are we going to do today? What's on our list? And the kind of the collaboration that happens. I really enjoy that. I like bringing technology to life and training to life and the magic of being able to press a button and all of a sudden an audience of the size of the world can consume it. And I don't know, it's an addiction.
It's a healthy addiction.
Yeah.
That's Jim Hankins. Go check out cribops.com. Thank you for coming on the show and sharing your journey with us today. I'm really proud, honored, and inspired at what you've been able to accomplish. That's what motivates me to, like, our mission is to accelerate yours, and your mission is to accelerate other people, and it just keeps going. It's like a ripple that goes out. It's a lot of fun.
It really is. And yeah, thank you so much, one, for having us on, and to your team for doing a wonderful job in answering questions about Lifter and the business in general of e-learning. They're super professional, and I've had the opportunity to be a part of calls, watching them just do an awesome job of helping people through the process as they come in. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. We really appreciate it. And that's a wrap for this episode of LMS Cast. Did you enjoy that episode? Tell your friends and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And I've got a gift for you over at lifterlms.com/gift. Go to lifterlms.com/gift. Keep learning, keep taking action, and I'll see you in the next episode.